welcome back to our series on Thankful Through Tears, navigating holiday heartache with hope. And I have a question for you this morning. Let me make sure my sound is up so you can hear me. I have a question for you this morning. Who are you longing for to fill this empty chair? Who do you imagine sitting there? Who's your missing loved one? And if you feel comfortable, please feel free to share in the comments because I want to honor them with you. When I was sharing with one of my dear widow friends who became a widow recently, and I was talking about the title of today's talk, The Empty Chair, at Thanksgiving. At Thanksgiving, at Christmas, at birthdays, at anniversaries, anything, the empty chair. She said, for me, it's not so much the empty chair, but the empty bed. And I thought, how profound is that? The ache of the loss and the longing for that loved one can be in different places for different people. But the reality is, they're not here. And how do you manage the tears and the joy of the holiday season when you have an empty chair? Hi, I'm Donna Scott. I am a speaker, author, and marriage and family therapist. And I am so grateful to be able to share with you on this tough topic that I don't think is addressed enough. And it's really important to, A, make sense of what you're experiencing because you're not crazy. You're not missing a grief deadline because you're not through it or following all the steps the way everyone else thinks you should. Because the reality, it's hard to watch our friends and loved ones grieve and hurt, and we want to help them feel better. So we'll feel better, helping them feel better. But the reality is the empty chair still hurts. The empty bed still aches. The empty couch where you would watch shows together, it's still an ache that's there. And I want to share 3 truths with you. The first one is grief is a love that still longs. Let me say that again. Grief is a love that still longs. What do I mean by that? Well, you get some really good news, or there's something you want to talk about, and you go to pick up the phone, even dial, I guess we don't say, hit the numbers here, and you either even let it ring or you just realize, oh, he's not there. She's not there. And the pain hits, and you realize that you were longing for connection when you reach for the phone. Or maybe when you hear their favorite song. I'll never forget the first Christmas season after my dad passed. I was in a restaurant heading to the bathroom, and they were playing Christmas music. And for those of us who are members of Grace, and Pastor Farrell would sing chestnuts roasting on an open fire every Sunday before Christmas. When I heard chestnuts roast, and the tears hit because he wasn't here to sing that song for me and with me on Sunday that was coming up. And I realize now that in that moment, A, I was longing to hear him sing it again, and B, I was longing for a shared joy. The whole church would erupt in applause and grinning when my mom would hit those notes leading to that song. Longing for shared joy, which stirred up my grief. Or maybe you want to tell a funny story or watch a comedy with them. And in that moment, you're longing for companionship. Or when you set the table and you automatically include their place, like we would at Thanksgiving, I have 2 empty chairs with my parents gone. Or maybe, as my friend shared, when you crawl into bed and you're not going to touch the other side because it belongs to him or it belongs to her. In those moments, you're longing for your loved one's presence. So that first truth, that grief is a love that still longs, we get constant reminders of our longing for their presence. And with that truth, like the tears that came from me when I was in a restaurant, hearing chestnuts, understand that Jesus understands the ache of the absence of your loved one. Why do we know that? One of my favorite verses to memorize, John 11:35. Jesus wept. For context, the 11th chapter talks about the miracle of Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. And he gets news that Lazarus is dying. He delays because he knows a miracle. The Lord is going to use him to do a miracle. And yet when he gets there, his friend is dead and buried. Now, I got to be honest. Those 2 words say Jesus wept. And it doesn't say Jesus wept because. Theologians go back and forth. Some say he was weeping over the sin of the surrounding people. Some people say even though he knew he was about to raise Lazarus from the dead, he grieved at what his friend went through. We don't know, but what we do know is God in the flesh and in the form of Jesus allowed himself to cry. And what's interesting, the Greek word for wept, Jesus wept, was not what professional mourners would do. They would wail and cry and out loud. I mean, just pour it out. And they were paid to do that, to kind of help the grieving process. But the Greek word for wept meant tears, not wailing. Jesus wept silent tears coming down his face because he understands the ache and the grief and the loss that you're experiencing. That verse in Hebrews that talks about we have a high priest who knows and has experienced everything we've gone through and everything we will go through. Jesus understands your grief. He understands your loss. He understands the pain of the empty chair or the empty bed or the empty space as you take your walks. He gets it. And what does he do? He gives you permission to let the pain out. Last week you listened to me talk on the first part of Thankful Through Tears. And if you watched it, you'll notice that I battled tears. It caught me off guard. And I gathered myself because my mission was to give you the message. But you better believe when I said see you next week and the camera went off, I let the tears flow. It's very hard, I think, to know that those moments are going to catch you off guard or you make space for them, even while you're trying to experience the joy. There was a quote, I don't have it right now, but it said, it's hard when you're dealing with what was while trying to stay present for what is. But I'm asking you to follow in Jesus' footsteps. And when you need to cry, allow yourself to cry. Move away to a quiet place or share your tears with someone who will put their arms around you. Whatever you need, take that time. Okay? Can you do that for me? Finally, I want you to remember with the empty chair, we can choose to honor our loved ones. We can honor their memory with love and sorrow. Remember I talked about last week the double dip feelings? You can have the love and the sorrow. Queen Elizabeth had this quote. Queen Elizabeth II said, grief is the price we pay for love. The person who's not in that empty chair, they're worth that price of grief, because the love you have for them and the love you have with them is worth the process. It's honoring them. Yes, ma'am. Let those tears flow, Sister Deborah. Right? Give yourself permission for that. And then honor their memory, whether it's with the loving or with the tears. But let me give you an example. Think about when your heart is longing for your loved one. You might, I really want to know how you plan to honor them through this season. Feel free to let me know. Here's some examples. When I'm longing to hear my mom's voice, because those of you who know her know she's fabulous soloist and worshiper. When I long for that, and in October, I posted on her birthday a video tribute. At the end, she's singing the solo. That's her voice you hear at the end, singing about 10,000 years. I also have a video that I took one Christmas because I was thinking, I don't know how much longer I'll have my parents, and I'm so grateful I did that. So I played that video when I'm longing to hear her voice. She actually was having a mock choir rehearsal with the family. It was funny. A couple of days ago, I was going through Facebook and I saw a friend post about her dad. And she had these pictures of him and she had an interview with him. And to hear his voice again, that's honoring his memory. Even the sorrow and the mix of love. Another thing, for those sports widows, or not even sports widows, maybe you do football together, Thanksgiving, football, you would be doing your thing or sitting right next to him and missing him jumping up and shouting. Maybe to honor that memory, you might put that jersey on yourself and do some shouts for him and be able to kind of honor him as you continue the legacy of Thanksgiving football. Or this is one I think people like to do too, is, with the Thanksgiving or the holiday meals, and somebody would do a special treat, dish, pie, and you're longing to taste that again, and that loved one's not there to fix it. If you have the recipe, go ahead and make it. Or if you don't have the recipe, you might not have their pie, you might want some other pie, or you might want to do something that they liked, And go ahead and do that. Honor their memory, even as you experience the joy and the sorrow. Ecclesiastes 3:4 says this, a very familiar verse, but it's hard to live it. The preacher, that's what the author is known as, says, a time to weep and a time to laugh. It's really hard to see those opposites, but what's even harder is living those opposites. Sitting at the Thanksgiving table with the empty chair, which you may decorate in some way. Put one of their clothes on there, or light a candle. I'm going to talk about that more in the next couple of weeks. Right? That's the sorrow and the joy. Sharing stories about them. Keeping their memory and their legacy alive. Oh, yeah. So, how will you create a Thanksgiving tribute for your loved one? Feel free to share in the comments. And know that Jesus understands. He understands and he cares about the empty chair too. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look for sharing more with you next week. Okay? God bless you. Bye-bye. And thanks for watching.